Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome back to another MAMJ Let's Play of Narcissu Side 2nd. When we left off, I had to stop the video because I felt like I was going to be an emotional mess, because I feel like this game, or this side, is going to mess with me a whole lot more than the original did. I don't know if it's going to be able to accomplish that, but from what I could tell from the first, 3 chapters, it's doing a pretty good job. So let's see what the 15th summer is all about. Oh god, I don't know if I'm ready.
眩しかった日のこと。そんな夏の日のこと。
Okay. 1999 Setsumi. Okay, so this is her perspective. Burning sunlight and the sound of cicadas. Today also looked like it would be a hot day. The third summer I faced since the day I was first hospitalized. Of course, it's not like I was hospitalized the whole time. There were days interrupted with home and outpatient care.
半年前だろうか。最後に来てくれたのは。
Who? The time I spent wearing pajamas slowly grew. And, as if in direct proportion, the number of people who came to visit me shrank. At first, classmates came to visit me every day. People that were once called friends. But now, they had turned into acquaintances. Even if I meet them on the street, they'd leave after exchanging a few words of greeting. Soon, those acquaintances would turn to strangers, and someday, I'll probably be erased from their memories.
どうやらいい気がしないのだろう。
It's sad.
生きてる人にとって私の存在ってのは。
See, this game is just gonna shatter me. Even if they meet me, it probably doesn't raise their spirits, and probably the same goes for thinking about me.
だから消すことにしたのだと思う。
Yet whenever the end of the school day came, every day I continued to watch for someone to come. And then, after half a year of waiting, I stopped looking outside. Finally, I remembered to close the curtains, accepted the fact, guessed at the reason.
3年もかけて私にもわかるようになった。
It's not that they had forgotten about me. It seemed that they made as if from the start. They never knew me. They never saw me. As if there had been nothing there to begin with.
彼らもまた目をつぶっていたいのかもしれない。
Around when I was being admitted in and out of the hospital. When people had already stopped coming to visit me, and I had most likely been erased from everyone's memories. My family moved from the freestanding home we had long lived in into an apartment. And my mother started working part-time at a nearby takeout lunch shop. The meaning behind it all, even I could understand. Hospital fees were no joke. In the ward, every day, it was a conversation topic for the patients. I came to know how the patients themselves felt the responsibility to their families far more than the families could imagine. And then, the small, old, slightly dirty wooden building that was our new home. On top of being smaller, Father's daily commute stretched to over 2 hours. Meanwhile, the distance I had to take to the hospital became a 3-minute walk. Oh, that's so sweet! Like, he moved 2 hours away from his work so that it would just be 3 minutes away from the hospital. In front of that beat-up, cramped apartment, Father said, "The air here is nice and feels good, doesn't it?" Saying that, he smiled, and Mother smiled in the same way. Because the heat might aggravate my health, they put in an air conditioner in my room. Of course, no other room had one. And Mother, who had started going to that part-time job, often brought back croquettes and fries for me, saying there were leftovers. In that cramped room, we ate together. Always, they smiled happily. It was very painful. Their thoughtfulness was unbearably painful. Instead of feeling thankful or happy, I was filled with guilt. it's your fault.
きっとそう言ってほしかったのかもしれない。
I wanted them to blame me more. Being treated kindly hurt. I could remember uncontrollable feelings of irritation, even anger, towards myself. If God were around, I wanted him to quickly heal me, or if that wasn't possible, to let me die now. Everyone else was in the middle of erasing my existence. But in contrast, my parents stopped to make me stand out. That was much more painful. Even as I was being treated kindly, I hated myself for being unable to repay it. I cursed the fact that one of the countless misfortunes in the world happened to fall on me by chance. In such times, smiling and putting on a cheerful air may have been what I was supposed to do. But all I was able to manage was to quietly eat the fries that I really didn't like very much. Oh, is that the sound of the cicadas? The burning sun and cries of the cicadas. When the white rainy season clouds cleared and it had turned completely into summer, after being readmitted to the hospital for the nth time, finally, I was discharged. But that wasn't the end of things. The word discharged also meant, until the next time I was admitted, the beginning of a long life of outpatient care. Under the blazing sky today, I again walked the 3 minutes distance in my pajamas. To my mother, who had offered to come along, I replied, "It's all right." In my own way, it was supposed to be out of consideration for her, but the desolate look on her face at my words had also hurt. My feet happened to stop before some school. Most likely, it was an elementary school. Since it was already summer vacation, there weren't many people in sight. In front of that empty schoolyard, for some reason, I wound up gazing. Without thinking, my feet had stopped. Occasionally, I would see happy children running around, and my eyes would follow them. Under the blazing sky, the long-sleeved pajamas were hot. I felt strongly out of place gazing at the schoolyard. After standing there for a while, I once again began to walk. However, not towards the hospital, but home. And once I returned to my room, I took out the sailor uniform that had been in my dresser. Sleeves that hadn't passed my arms in 3 years. And just like a new uniform, previously they had been worn for only a single week. And now, to me, they were the only other clothes other than pajamas that I owned. Once again, walking under the blazing sky, the noisy cicadas and running sweat was the same as before. But the people who walked by, their eyes did not pause upon me. Even I, as a part of the backdrop of the city, as a part of what builds up everyday life, felt accepted. And then, when I entered the schoolyard from earlier, before my eyes was a metal bar for small children to play with. I extended my hands towards it. Placing strength into my arms, I pulled with all my might and kicked at the ground. A moment's sensation of floating, and my body spins around. Oh, yay! She's still good! That's really hard to do, like, I don't know if there's any of you guys out there that can do it. I can do it when I was younger, but you hold the bar and you kick your feet up and go over the bar. That's what she did, yeah. And she's still able to do it physically. I whispered that aloud for some reason while I looked around from atop the bar. The strong sunlight made the playground seem white, and the heat made the ground look wavy. Occasionally, I could hear the voices of happy children, and the insistent voices of cicadas declaring that summer was their season. With my arms already beginning to shake from supporting my weight, I soaked up the present. Why was it that I suddenly wanted to do this, I wonder? The exact reason? Not even I knew. By now, the times I wore anything but pajamas dwindled. The pressure from the need to do otherwise had also disappeared. Did I find that to be sad? Or perhaps I wanted to test if I still had the strength.
私はみんなと同じはず。
Should be the same as the normal people who were over there. So, just from a somersault around the bar, I shouldn't be making such a strained face. Because I felt that way, I forced myself to make a smile. But just as I was unable to stop the shaking of my arms, it seemed that too was difficult for me.
Narcissus.
What? Why a random interlude? Even though it was still morning, the asphalt looked wavy from the heat. Today also looked like it would be a hot day. And in that, as always, I headed toward the hospital alone. With this distance, even though I could have gone in pajamas, when I had to go out, I've come to wear my sailor uniform. Most likely, I was still wavering. How long this wavering will continue, not even I knew. One day, I may suddenly just be able to give it up. It was just that I had come to think that the span of 3 years was more than enough time for a person to change. Then, passing by that school, and as the entrance to the hospital was before my eyes,
ボタン取りかかってる。
in my hands was a small tote tag. I noticed that the button that held the handle was fraying off. How long had it been like that? I didn't know. But coming all this way, I wasn't going to go back home. So I held the bag to my chest and continued towards the hospital. The usual doctor, the usual exchanges, and today's examination ended. When my body's condition was stabled, it was once a week. 3 times a week seemed to be a sign of short hospitalization. With this week's examination was over. As I thought that, I headed towards the exit on the first floor. In the afternoon, the doctors weren't seeing patients, so the halls were mostly empty. Occasionally, a doctor would walk by with a group of intern-like people in tow. Nurses rushed to the first aid window. A patient, probably under dietary restrictions, was in the shop buying snacks. Their wristband was visible, green, which I heard was for digestive disorders. All of this was just the ordinary, everyday hospital. And in front of that shop was the first time that I met her.
ねえ、あなた。え？
Suddenly, a bright voice called out to me and surprised me. Turning around, before me was the pajama-clad figure of an one-san I didn't recognize. I thought maybe it was someone I met while I was admitted here, but I didn't recall the face or figure.
何か。
それ、ボタン取れかかってるわよ。
As she spoke, she pointed at my tote bag. It might have been the simple act of kindness, but since I had already noted the problem, I had trouble finding a reply.
そうね。
そうねって、それだけ他に言うことは
どうも。
As I spoke, I lowered my head a bit. Because I already knew, my reply came out hesitatingly, but even then, it was too difficult to say, "Thank you very much." The one-san that I hadn't seen before, her long black hair and bright voice left an impression. Looking at her slippers, the kind provided by the hospital, she was probably not an outpatient, but admitted. Looking at her thin wrist, her wristband was white. That was a color I hadn't seen before.
ねえ、直してあげよっか。私、ソーイングセットも持ってるから。
でも。
At her sudden words, I hesitated, but not over a button that didn't mean much. These past few years, because my existence was always only being erased, I had absolutely no experience with someone actively trying to relate with me.
いいからいいから。ほら、いらっしゃい。大丈夫よ。別に変な場所じゃないから。
Well, I mean, it is in the hospital. With those words, she started walking briskly. And while wrapped in mixed feelings, I followed behind. We got into the elevator. Without a word, she pressed the button for the highest floor.
7階
あら、もしかして知ってた？
それほどは。
The 7th floor, the place they called the hospice. I wasn't too familiar with it, and of course I've never been there. For one thing, I heard that people not involved with it were barred from entering. It probably meant that if this One-san were here, headed to the 7th floor, she was a person from there. Soon, the elevator reached its stop, and right in front of the door was the nurses' station. And when the doors opened, all together, the gazes of the nurses turned towards us.
私の知り合いだから。
With that one sentence, they once again went back to their work. No one looked towards us anymore. It was just my first time here. But without putting my finger on it, I thought the atmosphere was especially heavy. The place One-san finally took me looked like a lounge area. It was very different from the 3rd or other floors I'd been admitted to. Those didn't have sofas or the TV.
じゃ、すぐに直してあげるわね。
With that, she took my tote bag and, with what seemed like a practiced hand, began fixing the button. And like her, I sat down in the sofa and watched. Even as I looked around, there were few signs of people. Occasionally, an elderly or helper-like person was going by. That was about all.
ところであなた、風邪でもひいたの？それとも誰かの？
今は通院中だから。
I hesitated over how to answer, but said the truth. I added that I had been discharged recently and was an outpatient now.
あなたも大変そうね。ちなみに、部活は何やってるの？
部活？
Oh, she's not in one.
だって今は夏休みのはずでしょ？
As she spoke, she pointed at my uniform.
入院してたくらいだから文化部かしら。もしくは運動部のマネージャーとか。
別に何もやってない。
あら、意外な回答だったわね。もしかしてパジャマは嫌い？
At the sudden perceptive question, I couldn't find the words to respond with. It's not that I hated pajamas, but I sensed that the precise reason would be difficult to put into words. And what that One-san had asked was probably aimed straight at that. She hadn't simply been asking whether I liked the pajamas literally.
お姉さんはここの人。
ええ。こう見えても7階の住人よ。
We're gonna have a beautiful friendship and it's gonna be ruined. I'm gonna be ruined.
手っ取り早く言えば死亡確定者ってことね。
Oh, God. That which I'd only known on the level of rumors was now clearly spelled out by a resident of the 7th floor. She used the word death in such a bright and relaxed tone. At the least, it didn't seem like I could comprehend. This person, what on earth could her thoughts be?
ねえねえ、よかったらまた遊びに来てよ。
私が？
何もやることがなくて退屈なのよ。それにここは面会時間も遅くまで大丈夫だから。
And with that, she told me various things about the 7th floor. Up until now, it had been vague, but it seemed that the rumors that it was a place to wait and die were true.
他にもルールとかあるんだけど、これ以上は言えないわ。
どうして？
そりゃ決まってるじゃない。あなたはここの住人ではないから。
Oh, she's gonna be. It was only then, when she whispered that, did her face cloud. I felt that the expression held loneliness and seemed filled with intensity as well. Right now, I was wearing these clothes, steeped with a lingering regret for once normal days. And unlike myself, this Onesan, no, these residents of the 7th floor, had probably given up on everything and already had made up their resolve.
ついに来たついでにでも寄ってよ。どんなに頑張ってもあと半年くらいだからさ。
Why are you so cheerful about this? She said that, and by the way of farewell, she once more turned her cheery face towards me. Long black hair, white wristband, and a bright, relaxed way of talking were my impressions. Still, neither of us knew the other's name. My 15th summer. This was our first meeting. She's so young, 15th summer? A few days later, again I visited the hospital. However, it wasn't like it was an examination day. If it's alright with you, come to play. The words of the Onesan I met a few days ago. Maybe because I was somehow concerned about that 7th floor place, or maybe I was just curious for some reason. I came to the highest floor. With a nod to the nurses who looked my way, I made my way to the door that Onesan had told me.
はい、どうぞ。
来たわよ。
I'm here!
いらっしゃい。待ってたわ。
Aww.
さ、座って座って。今日は暑かったでしょう。
うん。
Sitting up in her bed, she offered the folding chair next to her. The first room on the 7th floor that I entered felt a little different from the 3rd floor rooms I was used to.
悪かったわね。でもね、きっと来てくれると思ってたわ。
Oh yeah?
あなた、暇だし。
なんで決めつけなのよ。
だって私たち病人の仕事は寝ることでしょ。世の中でこんな暇な人はいないわ。あら、そう思わない？
別に。
別に？
もう相変わらずクールね。ってそうだねえ、あなたアイス好き？
Who doesn't?
あれ？じゃあ嫌い？
うん。
はい、決まり。じゃあ食堂まで一緒に食べに行きましょう。遠慮しなくていいって。お姉さんおごってあげるから。
Oh, well, nice.
よく知らない人についてっちゃダメ。
Really?
は？
お母さんにそう言われてる。
That's the card you're gonna pull now?
なんで笑うのよ。
ごめん、悪気はないから、本当に。
She's so adorable, though.
でも確かにその通りね。
She's so cute. She's like, I'm not supposed to. No. What? Don't
知ら
laugh
な
at
い
me.
人についてちゃダメよね。
Mm-hmm.
姫子よ。
え？
お姫様の姫に子供の子。
Oh, okay. So that's how you would spell her name with the kanji.
ついでに言うと、天秤座の AB 型。
Oh, I'm blood type AB. Yay!
あなたは？
水亀座の O 型。
And your name?
節み。
There we go.
じゃあ、これで知り合いね。節み。
焼けた日差しとセミの声、この真っ白な7階にも響いていた。
Those cicadas are noisy, aren't they?
姫子と名乗るお姉さん。まだ私はお姉さんのことを何も知らないけど、この日から長い夏が始まろうとしていた。
we rolling into the next section? What? Okay. I think they played the song earlier too. But why now? Why now? I'm like over an hour into this game. I like it though. I'm not gonna complain. They definitely had a bigger budget too, didn't they? They have a lot more cutscenes and images of Setsumi. Oh, they're gonna go to the beach together? 10 things you want to do before dying. Whoa. Oh, this explains so much. Vinyl ID bracelet blue, huh? Oh, I'm like excited but nervous. That's a beautiful song though. I really do like it. I may have to grab the soundtrack for this game when I'm done. Their long summer was beginning. Yes, it was. Okay. Vanilla Ice. Cool. Following the One-san, I mean Himiko-san, we came to the first floor cafeteria. We went up to a convenient table and sat next to each other. Maybe it was because it was right at lunch. The cafeteria was surprisingly crowded, not only with people from the outside, but also people who seemed involved with the hospital. As for myself, because my home was close, I'd never used it before, but more people seemed to use it than I thought. And then, Himiko-san passed over a menu with practiced air. All of them! I want all of them! She happily continued with her words. However, no matter how much I looked at the menu, it didn't seem like I had much to debate over. Vanilla? What? Okay, sure, go for it. For some reason, when she interrupted me, she confidently started making her prediction. Certainly, this was a menu with many different set meals and drinks. But from the start, the key item, ice cream, only came in vanilla. Okay. There wasn't really anything to predict here. Very good, thank you, Himiko. Good God, girl. I didn't really get it, but the One-san got fired up all by herself. As she spoke, she got up from her seat and quickly went to buy. What was that just now, I wonder?
はい、お待たせ。
In a bit, Himiko-san returned. However, on the tray, there were 4 ice creams.
とりあえず1人ノルマ2個だからね。
Okay. Why? As a thought came to me, and faster than I could ask, she placed 2 dishes in front of me, as if that's how it was supposed to be. And she started eating before I did.
おいしい。やっぱ夏場はこれに限るわよね。
With a nod, I also started eating. It was a sherbet-like ice cream and fit the season with its light taste.
説明おいしい？
うん。
じゃあさ、もっと嬉しそうに言ってみて。
That's how she expresses herself.
おいしい。
ああ、そうじゃなくて、もっとこう、なんていうかさ。
I know what she wants, but she's not gonna get it out of her. All this time, I wonder. Just what in the world does she want me to do?
じゃあね。うまいぞーって言ってみて。
Is she gonna say it?
うまいぞ。
She's doing what you're asking her to do. I mean, you can't fault her.
では次の問題です。
Okay.
問題？
まずシャンデリアを10回言ってください。素早く言わないとダメだからね。
What are you trying to do?
シャンデリア、シャンデリア、シャンデリア、シャンデリア。
You're actually
で
doing
は
it.
毒リンゴを食べたのは？
白雪姫。
Got it.
正解よ。
She's so bummed. She's too cool for that kind of joke. You guys get it, right? If you say chandelier, you would go Cinderella. It's a lot more close in the Japanese, but I think it would work in English as well. Maybe she wanted me to answer Cinderella.
さて、いよいよ盛り上がってまいりました。
Uh-huh.
てなわけで、自己紹介タイムよ。
And Himiko-san was still charging herself up on her own. In these sorts of situations, I guess I should go along with at least a little bit. Well, that's what I wound up thinking, but it felt impossible for me.
ねえねえ、節美の趣味って何？
特にない。
じゃあ、お料理とか得意だったりして？
別に？
意外なとこでカラオケ好きだったりとか、しかもアニソン好きで夏マシンガン歌えるとか。
Okay, what is this? Neko Neko Soft's Natsuwa Machine Gun song, famed for the amazing speed and the stream of consciousness lyrics that are shouted by Misudo Shindo. It's rumored that people have sung the karaoke in real life. I have no idea what that is, but okay.
全然。
それじゃあ、今度は私の紹介する番ね。
Show her how it's done, Himiko. Just when I wondered if I said all that much, Himiko-san suddenly stood up. Other people were wondering what was going on and looked over, but it seemed like she didn't mind at all.
こう見えても私、すっごい車好きなの。なんと国内 A 級まで持ってるのよ。えへん。
Congratulations. She even straightened up proudly and was excessively wound up. But to me, even if I was told national rank A, I had no idea what that meant.
それってすごいの？
Aww. Well, not that much, and in a flash, her energy disappeared. And as for me, instead of that, I was more interested in something else.
なになに？質問 OK よ。ロータリーエンジンとか得意だから。
I don't think she's gonna ask about a rotary engine.
そうじゃなくて、そんなの食べていいの？
ああ、そういうことね。
Before my eyes, Himiko-san continued to gobble up her ice cream. It might have been obvious, but ice cream was not supposed to go over well with the sick. Of course, I didn't know much about Himiko-san's illness, but at least I knew she was someone from the 7th floor. Just looking at it normally, a sick person shouldn't be eating that much ice cream. But to my question,
ねえ、あなた知ってる ?7 階の面会時間って。
うん。
I answered with another question. What it had to do with being able to eat ice cream, I couldn't see, but I honestly shook my head. I'm sure that on the third floor, where I was always admitted, it was from 3 in the afternoon until 8 at night. However, on Saturdays, mornings were allowed, and I figured the other floors probably had similar arrangements.
なんと、7階だけは24時間 OK なのよ。
Oh, wow!
ついでに言えば、食事制限も特になし。
そうなの。
ああ、そりゃ無茶な大食いはダメだけど、基本的にいつでも好きなものを食べていいの。
While answering, she started to quickly eat ice cream again.
たくさんの制約があった病棟から7階ではいきなり自由になるのよね。
Himeko-san laughed happily as she replied. However, the next words she spoke were in a totally different tone.
説明この意味がわかるわね。
Yep, I get it. I gave a small nod. What is a hospice? To that, there are people who say it's a place to wait for new treatments, as well as people who say that it's a place to ease the heart. I'm sure that both of those were probably right. But for myself, it seemed like Himeko-san's words just now were more understandable.
そんなわけでいつでも来てよね。今だから。
She doesn't have that much time left, so it doesn't matter what she does. It sucks. With that, her usual cheery face returned. Normally, she was like this, but I felt that once in a while, the facial expressions and words she used were very severe. Which one was the real Himeko-san? I didn't know. Most likely, both of them were. Around when the sun, which had been so high, was setting. After I left the hospital, I returned home.
ただいま。
At the empty front door, my voice reverberated. From that closed-off room, the moment I opened the door, a blast of hot air had come out. I opened the living room window and let in the outside air. Even just that much cooled the room. Looking at the clock, it was 4 o'clock, still early for Mother to come home. I placed my slightly sweaty sailor uniform in the washing machine and changed into pajamas. And then, after I finished washing the rice, to help Mother out, who would be returning soon, I finished the preparations for making dinner. Since I was feeling well at this point, I set myself to doing at least this much. Really, I could just relax in my room, but instead I switched on the fan in the living room. Father and Mother were working in the middle of this heat. For me alone to be in a cool air-conditioned room, it gave me a bad feeling and I couldn't do it. She's home.
ただいま。
うん。おかえりなさい。
Mother returned from her part-time job. Almost always around this time, she would come home.
説明もう晩ご飯済ませた？
まだ。
Now we just ate 2 scoops of ice cream. It was delicious.
じゃあ一緒に食べましょう。今日もたくさんコロッケもらってきたから。
Sitting at the table across from each other, the two of us started an early dinner. Because Father's commute had lengthened, he often came home late, and so the times the two of us ate like this, separate from him, increased.
どう？美味しい？あ、よかったらポテトも食べてね。あなた好きでしょ？
Oh, she doesn't like them. With that, Mother offered the plate of fries. Before, I'd continued to eat them silently. Since then, it seemed Mother thought I liked them.
実はお母さんね、昨日からポテトあげる係になったのよ。
Oh.
だから実はこれだけ残り物じゃなかったりしてね。あ、別に心配いらないわよ。あなたが好きだって言ったらね。
Oh.
お店の人たちも
月のやってくれているんだし。
No! Cheerfully, happily, Mother spoke on. Exactly what were the conditions that led the people at the store to say that? I didn't know. But just from imagining it, I was filled with guilt. For some reason, I was pained.
じゃあ、これからも楽しみにしていてね。
In front of such a mother, all I could do was just stay quiet and continue eating the fries, trying as best as I could to eat them as if they were delicious. She doesn't like them. Oh God! Oh God! A few days later, with the usual cicadas and the sun consecutively setting record heat. Under such a sky, I came here once again. A high ceiling, a white room, a small folding chair on which I sat. However, even though I came here, it was just, I came here. Simply that. It's not like we talked about anything special, and at the least, I never brought up any interesting conversation topics. It was just on the level of sitting next to the unilaterally chatting Himiko-san, making uninteresting responses.
ねえ、一つ質問だけど、
Decisively, I tried asking a direct question.
私といて楽しい？
ええ、あなたといると退屈知らずよ。
嫌味？
とんでもない。すっごく楽しいわよ。すつみちゃんラブラブって感じかしら。
Really? Maybe she's toying with me. I couldn't help thinking that, but Himiko-san was always like this. One-sidedly getting all worked up, whatever I said, and cheerfully following her own pace to the end. And then, just when we had that exchange... Who is it? The person who came in was an older lady I didn't recognize. It was the first time I saw anyone come to this room. Himiko-san, how are you feeling?
まあ、特にって感じかしら。
Today is a bathing day. What shall I do?
大丈夫よ。お気遣いどうもね。
Then, if there's anything, feel free to say. With those final words, the lady I didn't know left the room again. At first, I thought it was a family member, but it seemed to be otherwise. Maybe it was a helper. Since she was wearing an apron, she seemed like one. It was just that I felt she was somehow different from the other people I knew called helpers.
今の人は？
ああ、ヘルパーの人よ。別の人の担当だけどね。
It seemed that I was right that she was a helper. But because there really did seem to be a difference, Himiko explained about helpers here. It seemed that the helpers of the general wards were generally supposed to help people in the physical sense. Depending on the hospital, it could be a job, and there also seemed to be some who looked on it as a form of part-time work. Compared to that, the 7th floor helpers. Because mental care was relatively important, if you came thinking it was a part-time job, you apparently wouldn't be accepted.
まあ、少なくともこの病院、この7階では全員ボランティアのはずよ。
そうなんだ。偉いんだね。
I was a bit impressed. It might have been obvious, but I had heard that those who have not been informed beforehand cannot enter the 7th floor. For those people, who by their own choosing, volunteer for free for the sake of those patients, I plainly felt admiration. But at my reaction, Himiko-san,
そうね。偉いわね。
she replied without conviction. Looking at it normally, you think you'd sense a bit of something like appreciation. And then, Himiko-san's words from before. Though assigned to someone else, that someone else nagged at me. From just those words, one would think that Himiko-san's assigned helper also existed somewhere. But so far, I had never seen anyone like that.
姫子さんの担当の人は？
いないわよ。
いない？どうして？
だって私には必要ないもん。
Plainly, that was the only answer she gave. I didn't really understand, but maybe the 7th floor helpers could be refused if the patient said so. Certainly, Himiko-san, when compared to the other people at the 7th floor, could walk normally and, because she was young, was lively. But, come to think of it, since I've come here, I had not seen any family members come to visit.
でも今はあなたが来てくれたからね。
Aw, that's sweet. It's as if she saw what I was thinking and replied.
ありがとう。これで残り3つになったわ。
What?
残り3つ。
ええ。年の離れた友達が欲しかったのよ。ほら、よくあるじゃない。死ぬまでにしたい10のことって。
And she lightly used the word dying. That might also be because she's on the 7th floor, but to have that word said in a cheery voice was jarring. However, the 10 things one wants to do before dying. What they were, I didn't know. How much time Himiko-san had left, I also didn't know. Looking at it the other way, I could say there were 3 things remaining.
まあ、あれよ、説明。聖書が正しければ、世界は7日で作られたそうよ。
だから
私に残された時間でも、大抵のことは可能だと思うね。
Oh yeah?
それ例えになってないわよ。
まあ、そんなこと言わずにさ。残り3つなんだから、よかったら付き合ってよ。
Go with her? It looks like we've become friends, the 2 of us. Upon the first week of meeting, I've been asked to go along with doing the 3 remaining things before dying. Himiko-san's words. I didn't know how serious she was, but it seemed that I would probably be coming to this place often. As the sun slowly sank and the sky stained orange, I left the hospital. Today, I may have been in the hospital too long. As I was thinking that, my eyes landed on the schoolyard. Again, there were children running around happily. Even the metal bar I did a somersault on before had plenty of patrons today. Summer vacation, dusk, the voices of Higurashi, sweaty playing children. Each and every thing were everyday parts that built up the scene of a common summer day. There was nothing out of place. No one who made a strange face like mine from a single somersault. One-san, what's wrong? As I continued to stand gazing, one child that was playing spoke to me. Did you want to play with the bar?
別に何でもないわよ。
With just that answer, I turned on my heel. Looking up, the sky already darkening, I hurried along the road home.
ただいま。
おかえり。ちょうど晩ご飯の支度ができたところよ。
Is it korokke and fries? Looking at the clock, it was already about 7. Today, Mother had come home first. And together with Mother, we began our usual early dinner.
そういえば、今日は遅かったわね。
ちょっと病院寄ってたから。
あら？今日って検診の日だっけ？
うん。
Nope.
そうじゃないけど。
She made a friend. I was worried about how to answer. How would I talk about Himiko-san? Being an acquaintance seemed safe, but after thinking a bit, I decided to answer like Himiko-san said.
友達のところに行ってたから。
There we go.
友達？
Mother repeated my words back to me. She also had a surprised, unbelieving sort of expression. However, Mother having that kind of reaction was probably unavoidable. For the word friend to come out of my mouth itself was rare, while at the very least, in these past few years, it probably had been impossible.
そう。よかったわね、節美。お友達ができて。
And this time, she happily continued speaking. To that happy mother, I spoke about the events that happened up until now. that she was a very kind One-san. That lately I'd been going to play every day. That often I was taken to go eat ice cream.
へえ、優しそうなお姉さんね。
うん。
It's not like I was lying. But I wasn't able to say that she was a resident of the 7th floor. Why I thought that, I didn't know the exact reason. Being on the 7th floor wasn't Himeko-san's fault. It was no one's fault. I knew that. Because I was in a similar position. Because at some point the people I knew disappeared. I knew it even more so. It was probably the feeling of not wanting to worry her. I'm sure that mother would imagine that it was another normal patient, or perhaps a nurse. But to deny that didn't seem like something I could do.
そうだ。じゃあ明日からお弁当も作ってあげようか。
え？
この距離でもわざわざ帰ってくるの面倒でしょ？
We're not coming back. Mother continued being happy. Lately, my health had been good, and probably hearing I had made a friend made her extra happy. I wouldn't say it out loud, but I think it hasn't been since the 6th grade trip. She had always put effort into making lunch for me.
任せて。豪華なの作ってあげるから。
In front of such a happy mother, I could say nothing. As always, all I could do was quietly eat the fries. Oh my god. Okay, Korokke-san, that's gonna be the next episode. Alright, so we're gonna go and leave this episode here because I feel like I am quickly approaching the 1 hour mark and I don't want to make these too long, but I don't want to make them too short like they were before either. So hopefully this is a nice happy medium. But either way, we've made it through a couple more chapters and we should be on our way to the end quite soon. But until then, thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know if you enjoyed. I'll see you guys on the next MAMJ. Let's play.
と呼ばれる存在があるんだ。私にとっての彼女。
Oh.
それだ。
でもさ、姫子も物好きよね。せっかくの初任給をこんなボロ車に使うなんてさ。
ほら、ボロ車じゃなくてユーノスって言ってよ。
A Unos, okay?
それにこの方って古くても結構人気あるのよ。
へえ、そうなの？
おかげで今から冬のボーナスまでロー